Welcome to Take a Timeout with Dustin Sullivan, the Can-Do Group podcast that brings you a new perspective of people in sports. This is the third season of Dustin hosting his podcast, and we're excited to share his passion for sports and food with you. We're here to give you an inside look at the world of sports. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Take a Timeout with Dustin Sullivan, a production of the Can-Do Group. Can-Do Group is a 501c3 nonprofit provider of services for adults with developmental disabilities and is pleased to bring you this podcast. Today, Dustin's guest is Terry Wymer, a well-recognized college basketball referee. Mr. Wymer retired last year after almost 4 decades on the court. He's officiated 22 straight NCAA tournaments, 11 regionals, I don't know if this is all right, but 5 Final Fours, and 3 national title games. He has officiated in the American Athletic, Atlantic Coast, Atlantic 10, Big 10, Big 12, Mid-American and Southeastern Conferences, and the Horizon League. Terry was acknowledged for his life achievements on the court and inducted into the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame in 2018. Welcome to Dustin's podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Nice to be here. Nice meeting you, Dustin.
It's a pleasure to have you. Are you ready, Dustin?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You grew up in the North Baltimore area. What sports did you play growing up?
I played all 3 sports, basically. You know, that's been a long time ago, Dustin. There's so many opportunities with other sports than today, but I played baseball, football, and basketball. And then after high school, I went to University of Toledo for a year for baseball. And then I transferred to Findlay College at that time, University of Findlay, and played baseball and football, and was fortunate enough to be part of the 79 National Championship football team. And then played 4 years of baseball there, but I never played basketball, so that's what I refereed.
I was close. I said 80. Yeah. 80 something, but it's 79.
Yeah, I think you said 82.
Yeah.
He was trying
Close.
to guess it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who made you who you are today? Who do you look up to?
Well, it starts at home, Dustin, my parents. And that was my heroes, my driving force. And then, of course, I have mentors, and one of them would be a gentleman, Sam Licklider. And he kind of took me under his wing. He was very successful in college. And so I always looked up with him on the officiating side. But it all starts at home. You know, I have a wonderful family. Matter of fact, day before yesterday, I was married 42 years, which is a good long time. And but it's a lot of sacrifice, because I have three grown children now. But it was a lot of sacrifice to officiate and then come back and watch them play sports and be around the house, because typically I'd be gone for 5 months a year. My last year I officiated, I was only home 18 days.
It's not very many.
Not many. So my wife, God bless her, she
a single
kept
mom.
everything. Yeah, single mom, and then I'd come back home, and then she'd put me in my corner to tell me, just be careful, because we have regiments, homework, you know, this, and then playtime comes later. So, but my family was the key.
It's
Mom
a commitment.
And Dad. Yes, very much so. Yes, it is.
After graduating from North Baltimore High School, you attended college at Findlay. Where are you recruited to play at?
Were you
recruited to play there?
Well, like I said, I went to the University of Toledo for a year and a half, which great university, but I could see it wasn't going to work out, and I wanted to play it like most athletes every day. And so I had some friends at Findlay College, University of Findlay at that time, neighboring schools that I played high school sports against, and they said, hey, come down here and play, we'll have a good time. And it was fun. You know, the thing is, you can be a small fish in a big pond like Toledo, or a big fish in a small pond. You know, I always say it at University of Findlay. And the one-on-one commitments from the professors, and it's a small community. It's just a small school at that time. At that time, there was only about 2,100 students there.
That's
I think
not very
they're
many.
about to 5,000, 6,000 now.
Yeah.
So, But
It's doubled in size.
yes, tremendously.
It's a great university.
Yep. I
Great
enjoyed
people.
my time there. A lot of good people there.
What made you decide to play both football and baseball?
Well, I went there for baseball, and then the football coach thought that I had the size to potentially play football, and I hadn't played for 2 years because I'd been out of high school. So I went and played. Actually, I was on specialty teams. I played 7 games, and I hurt my ankle, and I didn't get to play in the playoffs. But I grew a lot. I had a lot of friends still to today. We always have I always look forward to this date. The first Monday of every June, we gather at a location up Port Clinton at a friend's house. And this year we had 30 football players come back as
That's
our
cool.
reunion. Yeah, so that family atmosphere was important, and I'm not so sure in the big universities you get that anymore.
I like the small universities.
Yes,
Why not play college basketball?
because it wasn't any good. Plain and simple. I love basketball. Actually, Dustin, I always thought the best athletes played basketball because of everything they had to do. Their feet, their hands, learn to play defense, shoot. In baseball, you have one. If you're playing center field, you have one dynamic.
That's true.
If you're in football and you're a lineman, you have one dynamic. You have to learn. But in basketball, it's all over.
Because you got to worry about double dribbling and all.
You got a lot of
all
things
that
to
stuff.
worry about, and then so I did that, and then I liked it so much that my senior year at the university, I became an assistant basketball coach, or at a JV basketball coach at Liberty Benton High School, and then the next year, I was offered a coaching job at Macomb High School.
That's cool.
For varsity, and I really didn't want to get into it because I wasn't going to be a teacher. And but we decided to take it for a year. The athletic director was a friend, and he asked me to get into it, so I did it. But it was a 1 year, and then after that, my parents always told me, "Don't complain about something, fix it."
That's
and
true.
so when I was complaining about the officials, what they say, become an official then.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started.
That's cool.
Don't sit around and complain about something. Make a difference and do something.
So that's how you knew my friend Mike Babcock, 'cause
Yes.
he was a radio guy from Mohawk.
Yep.
It's pretty cool how everyone knows each other.
Yeah, it's
Small world.
really it is a small world, Dustin. It's like you said. The sports community brings a lot of people together.
It's good in the sports community.
Oh, it's fantastic. So, like Kevin came into my life as a trainer. Met him.
Yeah.
He's at the university, and he helped me out quite a bit.
It's great to have people that help.
Oh yeah, so I went my whole career basically without any injuries, and in the latter years is because of Kevin working with me and making sure flexibility, strength, speed, whatever. I never really did have speed though, Dustin.
It's not about speed, it's about quickness
Positioning.
and smartness.
Yep, positioning. You're right.
A lot of people don't realize it, but athletic trainers are one of the most important people at what they do.
Very much so, because when I see a lot of injuries happening at colleges and things, I think of the athletic trainer. The physical aspect and how are they working with these young men or women.
I'm glad what they do because they say if it wasn't for the athletic trainers, that football guy for the Bills would have never been here today.
We're
They
very
saved his
blessed,
life.
very lucky that they saved his life. They they reacted quickly and took care of him. And by the way, I guess he's coming back this year. He's at camp.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm just going back and reflecting on what you said about being a coach before you even graduated college, and how just one little thing changed the whole course of your life, and that was because you didn't want to teach.
Yes, the whole dynamics changed.
Because I could see you
of that.
being a coach.
Yep. And I wanted to stay involved, and like I said, my parents always said, don't sit around and complain about it. If you think you can fix it, do better, go try. And that's what I tried to do, and I was very blessed to accomplish quite a few things.
I think I'd rather be a referee because it's a lot less. There's still a lot of commitment, but not as
Yes.
hard stuff to do.
Yep. It's
Quite a hard job, though.
Yeah, the thing is at that point I was in charge of myself.
Yeah.
So I had nobody to blame but myself.
That's
Right.
true.
And then in coaching, you have 10, 12 players
Right.
that you had to work with them, and then so it's quite the dynamics is quite different.
All of the politics behind all of
A lot
those
of
players
politics,
and
yeah.
everything too. So yeah.
What was your favorite memory as a student in college?
Student in college, I just say the bonds that with the students, the friends that I have made over the years. I mean, the professors were outstanding when I was there, but just meeting a lot of people and maintaining that relationship through our lives, that was very important to me.
NCAA college basketball banned the slam dunk for 1967 to 76. It can all be blamed on one athlete. Who was it?
Probably, I would assume it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
You're
yeah.
right on that.
Hey, I guessed right, huh,
Yes.
Dustin? Do I get a award for that?
Yeah. Where did
I
Lou
wish I
Alcindor-
had something.
Where did he
UCLA.
play you went to UCLA?
Yeah, and he's from New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name used to be Lou Alcindor.
Yeah.
So, but it says that he couldn't be stopped for dunking, and the NCAA felt they had to try to limit his dominance on the court.
Yep, and they did.
So,
But that's
Shaq
one of the
was-
most exciting plays in basketball now.
Yeah.
Either the dunk or the three-point shot.
right.
That's what nobody can shoot inside anymore. It's either outside or near the three or right near the rim for the dunks.
No one could do what Shaq could do.
That's right.
What made you switch sports from football and baseball and pursue basketball officiating?
Just the joy to stay in the game. Just the refereeing aspect. Like I said, basketball players are really exceptional athletes. They're all exceptional, but just different pieces to come together and what they can do. And like I said, I want to stay involved. I'm a diabetic. I've been a diabetic for 41 years, 42 years, type 1. And it's important for me to stay active. And so that was another reason to officiate. Run up and down the floor 3.5 miles every night during a college game, 5 nights a week. That helps you keep in shape.
I like watching all the student athletes play
Yes.
basketball. They're passionate kids.
Yes, they are.
You were a referee for high school basketball for 10 years. Who is playing in the high school state championship game you were officiating?
It's been so long ago, I can't honestly tell you. I can't. I'd have to go back through my record books. I can't honestly tell you. I know I didn't officiate him, but I went back because I would go every year to the state tournament just to observe. Went 15 straight years. And, LeBron had played. We had so many great athletes come through there and play. But the game I had, I can't honestly tell you who it is.
What was it like officiating LeBron?
The one time I did have him, the crowd is very dynamic, very into him. He promoted, but in high school, he had a good crew of friends and fellow athletes. A couple of them went to Akron. I officiated the young guys at Akron. His high school coach actually ended up coaching at Akron. Now, so he was. So I knew all those people, but to me, he is exceptional. But there's so many good athletes. Because the question I get quite often is, who's the best athlete you ever officiated? There's been so many of them. It's hard to narrow it down. I'd be taking the credit away from some of these good athletes out there, as well as coaches. I've had several coaches, the top in the country. Izzo, Krzyzewski, Painter, all these guys in the Big Ten, down south, Calipari, all these guys I've officiated their games. So they say, who's the best coach? They're all pretty good.
I think we might have that question later on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to jump ahead.
No, that's fine.
Speaking of high school,
we can talk about the worst maybe later.
Okay.
Speaking of high school basketball, did you ever do girls?
I did it the first 2 years that I started. I did boys and girls at that time. And then I knew if you wanted to get to college, you had to focus on one or the other.
That's true.
And so I focused on the guys' side of it. Not to take away from the girls, but it was just a quicker game. And I enjoyed it. And I could understand it more because from the male aspect on how things were done versus the female. But female athletes have come so far; it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
a good
so
experience.
Good. Yeah.
Where are we?
Why did the game interest you in pursuing the college level?
I got invited, I started off in Division II and III in junior college. And as I went up the ladder, my 10th year, I had worked the state tournament, and then I got a call after the game wanting to know if I'd be interested in working in the Mid-American Conference.
Cool.
He got invited. So I went there, and then and I had went to a couple camps, tryout camps up in Western Michigan University. Went to 2 of those up there, and that's how they see all these officials. At that time, there was 120 guys up there, and I got taken out of that camp into the Mid-American Conference.
So who is the basketball player that played for Bobcats when they got the Sweet 16 back in like the 90s?
Oh, his son played too. I can't tell you the name. I can tell you I had him, but I can't tell you who it is.
Yeah.
He got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I think at the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame same year I did.
Same year.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure it out just because I went to Ohio University
Oh, okay.
92 through 94. I was a transfer. Yeah. And I was like, I can't think of his name, but I know we went far.
They used to call him the Shack of the Mac, I think. That's what they used to call him. But he had a son that played, and then, like I said, he got inducted in the same year I did. But,
What does a typical day entail for a referee preparing for a basketball game?
well, it's completely different from college officiating high school. High school, you do your day job, didn't have far to drive, drive out to Coy Ross and work for Coach Embody, whatever. That's where I had my first varsity basketball game. And so I went out, you could drive, get home. Hopefully you made enough money to cover your gas and a sandwich.
That's true.
And but typically, in the level that I finished in, so you would take the first flight out, because I can tell you it takes me an hour and 20 minutes to get to my gate in Detroit to fly out.
That's great.
So if I'm on the road, fly out, I'd take the first flight, so I'm leaving home at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's early.
I'd land whatever destination, maybe in Kansas, check into my hotel room, and I'd sleep for as long as I could. And then I'd get up, shower, clean up, have a little bite to eat, get with my crew, and then we had to make sure we had to rent a car, and then we'd go to the game. After the game, we'd come back to the hotel. You're still hungry. Most universities would give us a sandwich and everything, but you're still hungry. Get something to eat, get to bed, but it's always late. It's like 11 to 12:30 typically, depending on what coast you're on. And then back up, first flight again. So the dynamics of that was, if I could get 3 or 4 games close that I could use one hub, fly into Kansas, drive over to Kansas State, wherever else, and then you have one rent a car. I wouldn't have to get up every morning so early. But as my kids grew up and became adults, they weren't playing high school sports. So it wasn't important to me to get home with her to see my wife, and she would say, stay on the road, sleep a little bit, because I could do laundry. So I'd be on the road for 10, 12 days
That's
easily.
a long
Oh
time.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I noticed you got the championship ring or something.
Yep, got a ring, yep.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, so, but actually I've got one for each of the championships.
That's awesome.
So someday when I pass, they'll be passed down to my kids. So.
That's one of the questions. We'll get back to that. So the 3 championship games you were in.
Yeah.
You guys also got a ring.
Well, yes, they give you the opportunity to get a ring, yes.
That's so
They
cool.
give you a watch also. They
So
give you a watch.
after all the 5 Final Fours you went to, do you remember who was playing?
Yeah, the best game I ever officiated was Villanova and, let's see.
Was that the Chris Jenkins?
Yes, Jenkins hit the
We
shot.
read about that, yeah.
So that was the number one game. I think it's rates number 1 or number 2 of all time. My first game was in 13. It was in Atlanta. It was Wichita State and Louisville. And I think Louisville won by 2 or 1, something like that. I went 13, 14, 16, 18, and 19. And then I also worked Virginia, Texas Tech overtime game. And Virginia hit a shot to win the game in overtime.
I think the greatest upset I remember is probably when Virginia lost to that 16 seed.
Yep. And then, but what did they do the next year, Dustin? They came back and won the national title.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That next year
They had something to prove.
they came back the next year, and then they won it, beat Texas Tech, and that game.
That was a good game. So was the game when Ohio State beat Michigan on that buzzer beater, Evan Turner against Michigan Big Ten.
Evan's a special guy. They had a lot of good guys at Ohio State that I got to know. Locally, Aaron Kraft. He's probably the best pound for pound size defensive player at that position I ever had. But an outstanding student. But he held that team together.
Yeah.
He held that team together.
They should have won it that year.
Sullivan, yes, they should have.
And the greatest out of any Division I or II, University of Findlay, when they went undefeated that 1 year.
36-0. Yeah.
So did you ever do Division II games?
Yes, that's how I came through. I did Division II and III in junior college. That's how you learn to officiate, because those games are very hard and very difficult.
Got to be committed to do it.
Oh, yes.
I think I'd be good at it.
I have no clue where we're at now.
More than that one, I think.
Oh, well, that one will apply.
Our referees selected for the NCAA tournament.
Well, it's a system of the body of work for the year. So what happens is, whatever league you work, you're nominated. So if you work over 10 games, they nominate you, 1 through whatever.
That's sweet.
And if you work under 10, they nominate you. So there's 2 categories. So they accumulate that, and then you get assigned the games. So the way it works is you'll get an email stating that you're invited to work what round, the first round or the second round. And once that email comes, you know you're in the tournament, and then the host team. So if I was, let's say Ohio State was hosting the first and second round, the tournament director would call me. They give you what time they want you in, what hotel you're staying in, what time the NCAA meeting, because you always have an NCAA meeting with the committee, and then you go through there. So you're judged on the Dayton first round, the second and third is actually on site, and then the next step is the regionals. So once you complete that, on the following Monday, you either get a call or you don't get a call. If you don't get a call, you don't advance. If you get a call, they tell you what region you'll go to for the regionals. And they'll tell you whether you have the 16 or the 8. You can't work both. So you either work the 16 games or the 8 games on that Sunday.
That's true.
So they go Friday, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday games. So on the Thursday, Friday games were 16, and the 8s are Saturday. Then after that, once again, you wait on between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. You typically get a call. If you don't get a call, you're not one of the 11 guys to go to the Final Four. When you think about it, only 11 people get a go to that.
There's not very many.
No, not many at all. So we have the Final Four group, and you got to count your blessings if you get that call.
The Final Four was probably amazing.
Yes. Biggest crowd I worked in was in it was a regional game in Dallas where the Cowboys played. It was 78,000, I think.
I remember that.
Yeah, 78,000 for that regional. I think it was Kentucky and Wisconsin. I think it's who was in that game. But some of the crowds they're so huge now. It's just. And I'll tell you, Dustin, it's actually better to watch the game at home.
That's true.
The seats they put you can't even see. You got to watch the Jumbotron up top to see the game.
Yeah. What was it like seeing the team that Sister Jean supported,
Yeah,
Loyola.
I had them when they beat Arizona. That was in, I think it was San Jose, California, and I met Sister Jean. And then,
Cool lady.
Yeah, nice lady. And the players and the school just respected her so much. And that's when she was able to travel with the team. That's when they made that run. But it was a special time for the University of Loyola.
Yeah.
Because they were so good back in 60-61 when they won national championship.
That's true. Which one are we at? Out of all the basketball conferences you officiated, who had the best fans?
Well, fans really don't appreciate us. So say the best fans are the most vocal fans, Dustin. No, the funny thing is when you're starting out and they don't know you, you always have people yelling at you no matter what.
Yeah.
And but after they know your name and everything, they find out you're a human being and not just a striped shirt.
Yeah.
They're much better towards you. They're more respectful. But you still have some, as I'd say, some knuckleheads out there, Dustin. It doesn't matter. If you have a call against their home team, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm 50% right most of the time.
That's a pretty good one.
50%.
Yeah.
You know, I think the most vocal fans are probably Duke Blue Devil basketball fans.
Well, there's only 9,000 people in that.
They're loud.
Yeah, and plus they're so close to the floor they can actually touch you. I mean, as an official, they can touch you. But I tell you about Duke fans, they're very knowledgeable about the game. And I think it's because of Coach Krzyzewski, what he's brought in there, but they're all passionate. I mean, when you look at Duke, basketball, if you look at Ohio State football especially, Alabama football, UCLA, they're all passionate about their sport. So we're wrong whenever we make a call against their team.
Buckeye fans are like respectful. They're like great fans.
Yeah. Oh yes, most certainly. Most Big
We're
Ten
humble.
fans are.
We're humble.
Most big fans. What do you mean you're humble? You're a Buckeye fan? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Dustin?
Yes.
Okay.
We have one for it.
I know, but let's do this one.
Did anyone ever throw things at you?
I got hit in the head with a quarter one night in
Ouch.
Wisconsin. But the good thing is most arenas now have cameras and they can find the people if needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they did some investigate on that. But there's stuff thrown on the floor. But that's the only time I really got hit. But
You didn't have to do the Wisconsin-Michigan game when Jawan Howard got in that.
No.
stuff.
At that time, I was working down in the SEC conference, or working some games down there. But I deal with those coaches now in my position. I deal with Coach Garr and Coach Howard now.
So when that happens, what do you actually do when that stuff like that happens?
Well, typically the officials are off the floor,
yeah.
and once it goes to zero, we point to the table. With everything okay with the official or the official scorekeeper, they give you a thumbs up. We're off the floor, so we don't have any jurisdiction at that time. That's up to the conference and that's up to the schools
I didn't know that.
to do that. Yeah.
It's cool to see some of these broadcasters. I like seeing Dick Vitale.
Yep. Mr. Vitale, we go back a long way. Now he's fighting some more cancer now, but he was very good for the game, very good for the student bodies because he would go share his time up in the stands. But a lot of good commentators. Mike Tirico, who he and Dick worked together quite frequently, very good friends. He's probably one of the best in the country because he can announce or broadcast any game, golf, football, any sport. But he's phenomenal. He's from Ann Arbor.
Oh, that's true.
So yeah, he's close.
I've always wanted to see Dick Vitale. It's always been my dream to meet him.
Yep.
I like him.
Yep. He's a special
Great guy.
Special guy.
He's good at his job. Did you ever throw anyone out of the game?
Oh yes, yes. The student body sometimes gets a lot of control, maybe because they had a few beverages or something before the game, and so that was not uncommon that if a crew of people were disrespecting players, disrespecting coaches, or disrespecting us, that I'd have them removed. or at least relocated. If they were near the floor,
Yeah.
they had an option. They could put them way up high, or they could remove them from the premise.
The school can get penalties for that stuff too.
Yeah, pretty much, but game management's pretty good.
Yeah.
Game management's pretty good because they know who these characters
Yeah.
are, because it's not their first time they acted
No.
out of line. And they would even forewarn you, like, hey, you might want to keep an eye on that section here. And if you need us, we're over here. We'll get rid of them.
Because when students used to storm the court, the universities get fined for that.
Yes, they can, because that's what we always identify as officials. The fastest way out if they storm the floor.
It's dangerous.
Because, yeah, you get hit pretty good and get hurt. And the same with the visiting team. We got to figure out how we're going to get them off the floor. So in the last minute, when you can see something happening, we get together and we talk to the coaches and the home coach, because you knew it was going to happen. And so that's when they start, what you're talking about, they started fining them for, storming the floor.
I like in football, it's different because they only do that when there's ranked teams.
Yeah, but
It's still dangerous.
it's still very dangerous.
Do they get in trouble too?
Yeah, conferences have a policy that if this happens at school, they get fined. And
Yeah.
You don't ever see anybody storming the golf course.
not very often.
Thank you for joining today's podcast of Take a Timeout with Dustin Sullivan, a production of Can Do Group. This podcast is made possible by the support of local businesses and community members like you. Thank you. Do you have a sports story to share that is linked to Ohio in some way? Do you know somebody in sports, whether it's a backyard hero, behind-the-scenes guru, or a superstar like Dustin's dream guest, LeBron James? If so, please give us a call at 419-425-2638. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.